Yeah, this is tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome everyone. It is tea time, afternoon tea with Miss Liz. That's right. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Today, I am joined with an incredible woman, an astonishing woman. And we're going to do a little something different today. We're going to have some tea and waffles. That's right, tea and waffles, but not the waffles that you are thinking of. So I'm going to bring up Dr. Katie Nall after I do the disclaimer of Miss Liz and get a little bit on who she is, and then she'll join us in the studio. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's tea time shows. Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name. Otherwise, I can't put your comment up. Please be advised that content brought forward for any tea time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good health, good faith, and however may bring forward dialogue and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of this airing. All tea time guests and audience participation are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to their discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some that may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about this disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or check me out on my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. Choose to voluntarily participate in this show in any aspect, Miss Liz welcomes you. Should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect that choice and I welcome you back at any time later. Now, a little bit on the incredible guest that I have joining me today in the studio is Katie Nall. Dr. Katie Nall or Katie Nall, I'm sure she'll get to it when she gets into the studio. So Katie Nall's PhD is a TEDx speaker for No More Fear, Florida mathematician, dissolving waffles, worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargia, I don't think I'm saying that right, exhaustion and stress, facilitator, growth, abundance, and prosperity mastermind, professional member, National Speaker Association, a certified master trainer and practitioner, emotional freedom technique, EFT, tapping, certified DISC instructor. And you can reach her at her website at Katie Nall's Edge Call. A little knowledge for a big change. All of her information will be on Miss Liz's page. You can get all of that good, juicy detail. Now, let's bring this incredible lady into the studio so we can have an incredible tea and waffle time together. So I'm going to pop her in. Welcome.
Hey, Miss Liz. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
It is. My tongue is like all twisted and everything. I think we need some waffles to understand why my tea is like it is, and some other good juicy stuff that we're going to get into later in the show. So a little bit more on you, Katie. Could you tell the viewers and the listeners out there what you do and who you are and how it all began?
I am so thrilled. First of all, Miss Liz, I have to tell you, I really appreciate your show and what you're doing and providing to the public. So kudos to you. I want to let you know that. I'm a mathematician who went back to school late in life. I was in my mid-50s when I decided to go back to earn my PhD. And at the time, I was working as an administrator at a college and wanted to help all those adult students who were coming back and had one class left to finish. And that one class was always math. Now, I'm a mathematician. So, Miss Liz, when they said they had math left, I was like, great, you saved the best for last. That wasn't the way they were thinking. Then they were just overwhelmed. So, part of my research that I did for my dissertation is I wanted to help students overcome their fear and anxiety about math and test taking. So in 2010, I saw Nick Ortner's 10-day summit on the tapping solution. I recommend everybody watch it. Yeah. And it was great. So they talked about tapping, which is also called emotional freedom technique, and how wonderful it is to use on relationships, finances, weight gain, addictions. Nobody mentioned math. Nobody mentioned tests. And I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but let's try it. So I tried it on a few students and they started coming back, Miss Liz, and saying, I think I passed my math class. Well,
I need you to help me pass my math.
Exactly. So I wasn't sure who was the more surprised, them or me, because I had no idea if this was going to work. So I realized I didn't have any training. You know, I just bought the book, bought the DVD, but I didn't have any idea what I was doing. So I went back and I got training in level 1, level 2, level 3, trauma, quantum, which is past lives. That's a whole nother thing. At picture tapping, supervision, mentorship, and now I can do what I wanted to do, and that's become a trainer. And just for reference, while I was working full-time at the college, it took me 4 years to earn my PhD in mathematics education. And while I was working at the college, it took me 8 years to become a master trainer in emotional freedom technique.
Wow. I need you to help me with my math so I can get through that math, because that's the only thing stopping me from my GED is my math. I am 4 points away from graduating and I just cannot get the math. And I've had tutors and I'm just like, I can't. I've done it 3 times and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this math is really just driving me mad.
Well, we'll work on that today if you'd like.
Oh yes, for sure. Okay. I would love that. So Katie, I would like to know what the waffles stand for, because everyone's been asking me, Miss Liz, what is these waffles? And I want to get into the waffles.
So, Miss Liz, when I first found out about tapping, I would stop almost total strangers on the street and say, what is your problem? I can help you. I can fix it. And people were like, go away, strange lady. What is with you? Because I just believed in tapping so much and I thought it was so fabulous. And so I thought I better calm down a little bit and give an explanation. And then I realized that what I do is I help people eliminate their worries, eliminate anxiety, eliminate fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, and stress. And the first letter of all of those words spells waffles.
I love it. I love, because that's exactly what I do with the T too. The T is the teaching, education, awareness. You know, when we start using the letters and we start breaking them down and understanding what the letters stand for, it really does truly make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's a lot easier to teach too that way, I find, because people get curious, right? When I said waffles, everyone thought we were having a cooking show. And I was like, we ain't doing that. I might have a cooking show in the future, but we're not doing cooking today. So
you wouldn't have me on if you were doing a cooking show. I can guarantee you that.
Well, if it came to waffles, you wouldn't have me either, because I like to bake. I like to cook. I don't like to bake.
Okay.
My sister is the baker. I am the cook. Like, I'll bake if I have to, but I'd rather pay somebody else to bake. And that's why I go to bakeries all the time, right? For my tea parties and tea times. Like, I just go and buy some cookies or buy some donuts or buy something, right? So I don't have the time for that. And I don't have the patience for that. So all of these words for the waffles, could you get into them a little deeper, starting with the W?
Sure. So I've had clients who've been worried. For instance, I've had clients who were worried about the job situation. And I've helped them through tapping see a way clear to get to the next point. I've had a lot of clients with anxiety. I actually had a client who was clinically depressed and on antidepressants. And along with her therapist, we worked together so that she was at the point that she was able to get off her antidepressants. So that was great. I have had a lot of math students who've had fear about taking math, and I've shown them tapping, and they've overcome their fear and been able to get through their tests. I've had people that are frustrated. For instance, parents, especially parents of special needs children or caregivers who are frustrated, and they don't feel good about being frustrated because they feel like they shouldn't feel frustrated. And so I've helped them. Lethargy. During the pandemic, there's been a lot of people who felt lethargic because they were just in the house all the time. And so I've been able to show them how to go over there. Exhaustion. A lot of young mothers, are completely exhausted. And in tapping with them, they have been able to see clearly that, oh, I can ask for help. I can get people to help. I can talk to my spouse, my significant other, my parents, friends, and get help. And of course, there's the big one, stress at the end. And every one of them had signs of stress. Now, it's really interesting because I've done a lot of research, Miss Liz, on stress and how it was discovered or done. And it's from a physician by the name of Dr. Selye, Selye. And it's been said that he says there's 3 things that really trigger stress: uncertainty, lack of information, and loss of control. And if you think about these last few years, what have we had? Uncertainty, lack of information, and loss of control. And I think that's why everybody is on edge so much more so than usual.
Yeah, that truly does make sense, though, because we have all been, right, with all the misinformation and mixed messages and, the division, and it has caused a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's because we're all in fear, but a lot of us are scared to say we live in fear, and none of us know what's going to happen, right? So I think that's that fear that comes in and that. Now, the lethology. Could you share a little bit more on that? Because I had to actually look up that word because I've never heard of that word before.
Lethargy is just feeling listless. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but I know I have, Miss Liz, where I just think I really need to get up and get out of bed. And I just feel so overwhelmed, so despondent, so I can't move. I'm just lethargic, and if I have to move, I'm moving slowly and just really can't get my energy back up. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. So lack of motivation.
Yeah.
That does make sense. And that, like when we communicated back and forth, and you sent me waffles, I was like, this is really different, and this is really educating the mind. Taking these words and changing them into a positive, because you've changed all of these words into a positive without even knowing that you have, because you've made it fun. You got the mind open with just saying waffles. People think food right away. Well, everyone wants to eat, So I think that's what really got me encouraged to reach out and get you on Teatime, is because you open the mind. And that's what I want on Teatime, is I want the guests opening the minds of the viewers and the listeners, because we don't listen. We don't educate ourselves. We don't ask those questions and say, how come we feel this way? Why do we do these things? So, and I think that's what really drew me into you, Katie, was that it opened my mind to ask more questions and get deeper and dig deep, right?
Good. So I'm glad. That was the whole purpose.
Exactly, right? And I think that you have a deep T. So I'm going to ask you, what is your T, Katie?
Well, my letter T has to be tapping. And if you're up for it, I'd be glad to do a tapping session while we're on here. And then my E has got to be energetic, because I am the energy bunny. My husband, God bless my husband, I don't know how he puts up with me. And then my A has got to be all in. Whenever I do something, I go all in. That's why when I first learned about tapping, I didn't have to get training, but I wanted to know how to help the most people the best way. And so I went through all of these different kinds of training so that when I talk to somebody, like some of my clients will start on the regular training, and I'll stop and I'll say, you know what? I think we need to switch to quantum. I think there's some past life stuff here. Or, you know what? I think this issue is so large that we're going to go to picture tapping. So when I go in, I go all in.
So there's different types of tapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought there was just a tapping.
No. What we'll do today is just what they call the basic method. But even within the basic method, because now I can train people, which I'm very excited about. But within the basic method, there's, excuse me, you can do things like there's stuff called chasing the pain.
Okay.
There's the movie technique. So there's a lot of different techniques that you can use other than, beyond the basic method.
See, I wasn't even aware that there was different types of tapping. When you said picture tapping, I was like, so is that like tapping a picture? Like how do we categorize it?
Yeah.
Picture tapping, these different types of tapping.
Yeah. Picture tapping is really interesting, Miss Liz. It's when you do regular tapping, and we'll do one in a minute, I'm going to ask what is the issue? When did it occur? Where were you? I'm going to ask a lot of very specific questions. And regular standard tapping is very specific. And that what they say is get specific to be terrific. And so that's the thing. But then sometimes I get and I have permission to share any story I hear that you hear from me. I have permission from my clients to share. But I had one client who was overwhelmed because her daughter's wedding she just couldn't get her control over it. And so I'd ask her about it. And so I'd say, well, what part of it was overwhelming? And she'd say, all of it. And so she couldn't get to one specific thing. And it was just very general. So what we do in picture tapping is I have them get a whole bunch of markers and draw anything. It doesn't have to be a picture. It can be a scribble or a box or anything, just anything, just draw anything. And then we tap on the picture. So let's say that they drew a blue square with a red circle in the middle and 4 legs coming out. So the tapping would be on this picture, I've drawn a blue square. And so we would tap about the picture rather than their feelings or a particular incident.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to talk after this tea time, because I think I need a lot of tapping. I need tapping pictures and tapping me. And I just need a good old tap.
There you go. Absolutely.
So if you'd like to share a little bit about the tapping, I would love to do it right now on a live, right? And for the viewers that are watching now or the replay, just give it a try. You never know. It might just be your cup of tea today.
It just might be.
And for the listeners that are listening, you can still do it if you listen.
Yeah. So first I'll tell you where we tap for the basic recipe. Okay. And then I'll ask you lots of questions so we can get specific to be terrific. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. So we would start on the side of the hand between the wrist and the little finger. Okay. And we would use our other hand and tap right there on the side. So for those who are listening and can't see, and if you're driving, don't do this.
Watch the replay.
Yes, there you go. But it's between the wrist and the little finger, and we tap right there. And when we add sentences, Miss Liz, we're going to add 3 sentences here that we're going to repeat, okay?
Okay.
Then the next spot is on top of the head, on the crown of your head, and you can use your right hand or your left hand, or you can do a monkey move and do both. It doesn't matter. And then the next spot, and I'm going to warn you, I'm coming in for a close-up. It's on above your nose, right on the edge of your eyebrow.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next spot is between your edge of your eye and your hairline. And you would tap right there with fingers. And again, you can use one side or the other or both. It doesn't matter. And then the next spot is where I keep all my bags for a quick getaway, and that's under my eyes.
That doesn't work too well for glasses.
Yeah, I take my glasses off so that you can see better. You might just lift your glasses up a little bit to get underneath there. And then the next spot is under your nose, above your lip.
Okay.
It won't bother your glasses. And next one is above your chin, below your lip. And then the next one, I have people cross their wrists with their palms facing them and tap right on their collarbone, right below their collarbone.
Oh, I've heard of that tapping.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last spot is about 4 inches under your arms, and you're going to give your ribs a good thumping. And you can go from one side or the other, or you can give yourself a hug, or you can come in from the side, whatever is the most comfortable. So those are all the spots. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. And the most important part, Miss Liz, is that everything I ask you to repeat has got to be your words. So if I say, would you repeat this for me? And you go, that's not really true, or I would use different words to say it. Will you put things in your own words for me?
Okay.
Okay, good, good, good. So you mentioned math. Do you want to tap on math?
Sure, let's tap on math. Let's get that math out of there.
Okay. When you think about math, what was the last time that you thought about math and you had a negative opinion about it?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago. And what was happening 3 years ago? Where were you?
In an exam room, writing my math exam.
In an exam room. And when you think about 3 years ago, sitting in that exam room, writing your math exam, when you think about that today, what emotions coming up?
Stress.
Stress. And from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes, where do you feel the stress in your body?
My feet.
Your feet. Okay, that's great. And from 0 to 10, where 0 is like, it's no big deal. It's just a test. And 10 is the most stress you've been in your entire life. Thinking about that today, what number is that?
An 8.
An 8. Okay. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, last question. Is this a true statement? Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Yes.
Okay. For those who are listening, if that's not a true statement, what you can substitute it with is right here, right now, I accept the way I feel, or right here, right now, someday I hope to feel safe. It just has to be a statement that's true for you. Okay? Okay, so we're going to start, and we're going to, on the side of our hand between our wrist and our little finger, and we're going to tap right there. And if you can repeat after me, Miss Liz, and say, even though I can remember sitting in that exam room, finishing that math test, and today I still feel stress in my feet. Right here, right now, I feel safe. Even though thinking about taking that exam in that exam room, I still have stress in my feet. Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway. Even though there's still stress in my feet. Thinking about that exam room 3 years ago. Right here, right now, I feel safe anyway. And then top of your head. And you're going to breathe and say, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
And again, on the above your nose, on the edge of your eyebrow, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
Now on the side of the eye, between the eye and the hairline, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
You might want to lift up your glasses a little bit. That's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
Under your nose, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
Under the lips, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
And on your collarbone, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
And then pat under your arms, that's stress in my feet.
That's stress in my feet.
And then I have my clients put their hands on their shoulders and then rub your shoulders all the way down to your elbows and blow your air out like a cartoon character. It looks like this. So, Miss Liz, remember back to that exam room 3 years ago and remember taking that test. That stress in your feet from 0 to 10, how high is it now?
It's about a 4. Wow. And my feet feel lighter. Wow.
I love stuff. It's like magic, right? Now,
It is.
if you watch this over again and do that same thing over again, you can get it from a 4 to a 0. And once you get it to a 0, clinical studies have shown that that stress will not return about that exam on that day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we really got to connect like after this. After this incredible tea time. So I really want to thank you, Katie, for taking the time and doing that with me and making me understand what tapping is, because a lot of people say do tapping. So I'm just like, okay, da, da, da. But you actually have shown us the spots, where to touch, where to tap. Now, is there a reason why we tap in those sections?
Yes, the developer of tapping is an electrical engineer from Stanford University. His name is Gary Craig. And he observed what psychologists and psychiatrists were doing with tapping. And he saw that they were using traditional Chinese medicine's definition of what they call meridians or energy pathways. And as an electrical engineer, he said, these spots on your body is where 96 to 98% of your meridians intersect. So tapping on these are like a shortcut to be able to release the negative energy that are stuck in our meridians.
Well, I'm learning a lot of stuff right now, and I'm big on energy and all of understanding why we react the way we do, the thought process, right? And for me, my biggest stress is not understanding sometimes. I get really frustrated easy when I don't understand, especially if it's not taught to me in a way for me to understand. If you just give me a book and say, read it, well, you're not teaching me anything, right? You're actually showing me the different spots and where to tap, understanding the tapping, because you're teaching. And that's what I truly appreciate. And for the viewers and the listeners out there, when we learn through examples and through action, I think that's how we truly grow the mind, right? We open the mind.
Absolutely.
Now, for any of the viewers and listeners that are out there that want to know more about tapping, they can reach you where, Katie?
So they can email me. My email is hello@drnall.com. That's HELLO @DRNALL.com. My website is my last name, NALL, followed by the word EDGE, EDGE, company.com. It's knowledgecompany.com, NALLCO.com. And I will challenge your listeners to go ahead and call me. I love to hear from people and hear their stories. My phone number is area code 772-226-0167. Would love to hear from your listeners and hear their stories.
So if they wanted to find you on social media, where could they find you, Katie?
I'm everywhere. Look for Katie Nall, PhD. So it's KATIENALL, PhD. So I'm in LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that.
I'm just going to slap them up so you can see. For the viewers that are watching the live video, you can see all of the information that is being put onto the screen. For all the listeners, it will be in the description. So if you're listening on an audio FM channel, all of my guests' information is all put in the description box. So you can reach out and find them that way as well. I try to make it as easy as I can for everyone out there. So Katie, would you like to get into the waffles? Now, when you share your waffle, how do you present it to the audience that's listening and watching?
You mean, what are my individual waffles? What are my worries? Okay. Yeah. So my worries, well, actually, because I'm a master trainer in tapping, most of my waffles have been dissolved. But one of my biggest waffles was I had a fear of heights and an insane fear of something that was driving my family crazy, and finally was able to overcome. And that was a fear of housework, which sounds strange. And I decided that I was going to overcome that. And I sat on the couch one day for 8 hours and tapped until I could figure it out. And then it came to me that growing up, I was the oldest of 3 kids. being raised by a single mom back when there weren't a lot of single moms. And we moved about every 6 months. I attended 12 schools in 5 different states. So whenever we moved, I was the one that was in charge of cleaning to get ready to move to the new place. And I never got the deposit back, right, or got paid because mom needed it for the next place. And so all of a sudden it dawned on me that the reason why I was hesitant to clean is because cleaning meant moving. So I turned to my husband and I said, "Are we moving now?" And he said, "We've lived here for over 20 years. I don't think we're moving right away." So I no longer have the fear of cleaning. I still don't clean. I'm not worried about it anymore.
But do you think that has a lot to do with the childhood patterns?
Oh, definitely. And when I have clients, when I take on a client, Miss Liz, we usually do 3 one-hour sessions, and it doesn't take too long until we get to childhood issues that have affected us. And the reason why is because when we're a child, the lizard part of our brain, the amygdala part of our brain, is trying to protect us, right? And so it's trying to keep us safe. And in the meantime, we are working on their prefrontal cortex part of our brain where we're learning skills, we're learning tools, we're learning things. But the learning that we're happening up here in the front part of the brain isn't really connecting to the back part of the brain. And so the back part of the brain, have you ever gone into a room, Miss Liz, and you walk into a room and you're feeling panicky and you don't know why? You're like, I don't know why. I'm feeling uncomfortable here. And what that is that's the amygdala part of your brain trying to keep you safe, trying to get you into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. And you don't know why. Well, you may have been 2 years old and something bad happened and there was a red trash can in the corner of that room. And so when you walk into a room and there's a red trash can in the corner of the room, you may not even notice the red trash can. But all of a sudden you're feeling panicky and it's like, I got to get out of here and I don't even know why. And so it's something, and that's when tapping can really help. And a lot of people, Miss Liz, are concerned and upset because they're like, well, why do you have to focus on the negative? And I agree with them, right? Because I was raised, you got to be positive. You got to be positive. So my first volunteer, who was my husband, I had him sit down on the couch. And I said, "Sit right here, honey. We're going to try something new." And he looked at me and he said, "What is it now?" And I said, I want you to tell me all your negative that you have. And he kind of gave me a side eye and said, "This is a trick, right?" He said, "You've been telling me to be positive my whole life, and now you want me to tell you do something negative?" I said, "Well, that positive thing wasn't working, so now we're going to try this."
We're doing reverse.
Exactly. And of course, he didn't want to come up with negative, but because I live with him, I knew all his negative. So I said, "Okay, just follow me." And so we did the whole thing. He got finished and he said, "Well, that was a waste of time," and went on his merry way. Well, Miss Liz, he came back from work the next day and I said, "How was your day?" He said, "Oh, it was great." Now, he never says that it's great. I said, "It was great?" "Yeah, it was great." I said, "Well, what about that client that was really bothering you?" He said, "Oh, I talked to them. We got everything all worked out." "Huh, your computer wasn't working right. Did you get everything fixed up?" "Oh, yeah, I called the technician and they came and took care of everything and everything's fine now." "Uh-huh." I said, "Well, what about, I know you're real upset with that vendor because they overcharged you." And he said, "Yeah, I called and talked to the manager and they corrected everything." I said, "So tapping doesn't work?" And he said, "Oh, no, I had it under control the whole time." That wasn't the way he usually came home. Trust me.
Wow. It's truly amazing, right? When we sit down and a lot of people tell me the same thing. Don't talk about the negative. Don't be about we need the negative in order to get to the positive. We need it in order to balance each other. It's like the yin and yang, the black and white. We need the balance. We need both in order to move forward, right?
And yeah, one way I can understand it too is that if we don't release the negative, we don't have room to put the positive in. And we can say that we're positive, but that doesn't mean we're not having negative experiences. And just squelching them down is only waiting for them to erupt at some inappropriate time. So being able to release them in a healthy way that doesn't damage your health. 80% of physician visits, Miss Liz, are stress-based.
Wow.
So if people can learn to control their emotions instead of having their emotions control them, they're going to have a healthier life as well.
Big, big difference. And the numbers are high. That is high. So I want to get into, you are a speaker for TEDx. How was
Yeah.
that experience, and what were your topics when you were on the stage?
So I've spoken twice. The first one was in 2017, and it was eliminating math anxiety. And I just really wanted to get on the big stage and explain to people the power of tapping. So the focus was tapping for math and test anxiety. And that's both on YouTube and on my YouTube channel. This past Saturday, so just 2 days ago, I was on a second stage in Eustis, and they gave me this beautiful poster where I spoke on science is not always the truth.
Oh, I like that topic.
So the whole focus is that science isn't always the truth because science is constantly evolving. And there's more that we don't know about science than what we do know. And what's important is, as individual, is for us to question science, to do research, and to be open to cognitive change so that we can evolve along with science.
Mm-hmm. I like all of those things that you just said, because we do need to do our research. We do need to question everything. And, and we are all growing and changing. Like, we really, really need to be advocates for ourselves. And if something doesn't add up, we have to ask questions, right? And I love that topic that, we really need to start researching.
Yeah, that'll be on YouTube in March. Because we just did it, so they'll be uploading it in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So when you see it, you can watch it then.
Absolutely, and I'll be sharing it on the Miss Liz's page. So I have shared your website on the page, and I've shared your talk that you did in 2017. Incredible talk. You also wrote a book. Could you share a little bit on the book?
So the name of the book is called Shower Blessings, and it is finding meditation time in a busy life. I wrote it because I was having lunch with a friend, and she was saying, "Oh, I really want to meditate, but I don't have any time." I said, "I get it. We had 3 kids in 6 years, and I had no time." And I just found that the only time I could go into a meditative or a prayer state was when I was alone. And sometimes in the shower, I was by myself. So I just found that was a time that I could raise my, awareness and actually meditate. And so the book is just it's for people who don't have much time. You can see how narrow it is.
It's a nice little book. I like little books.
It's 59 pages. Then that includes the reference. Oh. Yeah. So it's a little book. And the whole idea is, I get it that you don't have much time. Here's some ideas on ways that you can find time to meditate. Excuse me, that are meaningful in your life. I'm sorry, my throat just went dry. Excuse me. Yeah. So that's what it is.
So how important is meditation for us as individuals?
So one of the quotes I have in here is that, excuse me, you should meditate every day for 30 minutes a day, unless you don't have time. And then you should meditate for an hour.
An hour a day?
If you don't have time. Because meditation, right, takes you to a different level and brings in awareness and allows you to live your life and to be present in this moment. And without that sensation of being present in the moment, life just goes by without you.
Well, that truly makes sense. Now, somebody who can't meditate, to 100 degrees. I'm someone who can only meditate to about 98%. The last 2% you ain't getting from me. Now, that might have to do with some childhood trauma of not letting go. And I've been told that a few times, that it might be that's holding me back, not giving that last 2%. Is there a reason why we can't give 100%?
I encourage everyone to try different kinds of meditation.
Okay.
And, in the Jewish religion, they say that you should offer a prayer 200 times a day. And I'm more like that. I'm more like praying and talking and meditating all day long. So I could not sit for 8 hours and meditate. I probably couldn't sit for 1 hour and meditate because my mind is just like going off in all kinds of directions. But what I can do is throughout the day, give thanks. And throughout the day, I can think about people that I love and people that I care about, and offer up concerns for others that I feel like need attention. Today, my husband was texting me and saying his office, they found a leak underneath the hot water heater. And so they're going to be tearing up his entire office. And, my response was, I'm really grateful that they found it now instead of later, where it could have caused a lot more damage. And so that idea of always being grateful. One of the things I talk about in my book is, I call it pray, but people can use the word meditate, but pray a lot. And the acronym a lot, because you and I like acronyms. The acronym a lot is A, be bold enough to ask. And the way I look at that is that when I was a parent and to young children, I knew that my children wanted food, water, things. I had no idea if they wanted a red wagon or a pony until they asked me. And so we need to be bold enough to ask and to be specific, very specific. One year I wrote down what my absolute perfect house was like. And one of the things I said was, and I see the place completely filled with flowers. Now, when I wrote it, Miss Liz, I was envisioning a vase of beautiful cut flowers, roses, whatever. And the other day I was walking around and I was complaining because there was no flowers around here. Well, don't you know, my husband has taken up collecting orchids, and in every room there's beautiful orchids. And I went, oh, I have beautiful flowers in every room. So be very specific about what you ask for. The other one is L, is that meditation is not a one-way street. It's a communication. And so it's important that you listen. And in my book, I talk about more than one time where I had to listen, where I was given an assignment, and for a long time I didn't do it, and what happened through that. So listening is important. The O in a lot is my hardest one, and that's obey. So when you hear something, you need to obey what you hear. And that's what I struggle with, because, I always believe that I know better, right? No. And then the last one is T, give thanks. And it doesn't matter what happens, to always give thanks. The example I give in the book is that my son and I were driving down a 6-lane highway when this lady pulled right in front of me, and there was no way I could avoid hitting her. And so I hit her in her passenger side. And it was her fault. She acknowledged it and everything. When I went to pick up my car 2 weeks later, the salesperson said, boy, you were really lucky. I said, yeah, I know, it could have been a lot worse. He's like, no, you were really lucky. He said, the front axle of your car was about ready to come off. And if you hadn't had that accident, your axle may have come off while you were driving and had an even worse accident. So even at the time of that accident, I was like, okay, I guess I need to give thanks. I don't know what I'm giving thanks for. But if that lady had not had me run into her, we could have had either a really serious accident, or I would have had to pay for, replacing a whole axle, where her insurance paid for everything. So always give thanks.
I like that. And I like that for me, accliments, understanding the words, right? Understanding things. The word obey, when you said that is one of my trigger words. because lifestyle that I had. I'm over survivor of domestic violence, so the word obey is kind of a trigger.
Oh,
But we have to understand that obey doesn't always mean control.
no.
There's other ways of looking at words, and I really like that you're bringing these words to the table, because you're making me look within myself and saying, Liz, she's not trying to control you at this moment. She's obeying the lesson, obeying the process.
And obeying what you're hearing from up high, not from
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're making me look within myself with the words, because certain words I'll be like, you know what? No, you just lost me. Boom, done.
Mm-hmm.
But you're actually making me understand a process that I need to take as well with certain words and
Mm-hmm.
overcome those words. And maybe that's what that 2% is, that I'm not allowing it to come in. So you really have opened my eyes to that one word right now. So yeah,
I'm so
right here on this spot, I'm just like, I'm going to start looking at that word a little different now. Instead of the negative of it, I'll look at the positive of it. So
very good.
Any final words and message that you would like to share with the viewers out there? We still have a few minutes. So if there's anything that you would like to throw out there that I haven't mentioned, please do.
Yeah. So I also facilitate a mastermind, which is really interesting. It's a growth and prosperity mastermind. I'm looking for it, where people receive journal prompts every day. And then once a week, we get together to cover our wins, our challenges. We do tapping and check in on each other. I've been doing this for about 2 years. I have a number of people, Miss Liz, that have been coming to every one of them. They just keep signing up for them. So I have one that's starting this week. I'm very excited about it. And then we have another one that's going to be starting in March. That's going to be a lot different. So if people are interested in masterminds, it's a great way to get support, to feel nurtured, to know that there are people out there that have your back.
So what is the difference, Dr. Katie, between mastermind and masterclass?
A mastermind is everybody participates and everybody contributes. To me, a master class is one person is considered the master and they teach out to it. When I facilitate a mastermind, I ask everybody, tell me about your wins. I ask everybody, tell us about your challenges. And when we talk about the challenges, everybody in the group offers solutions. And you never know where the solutions are going to come from, because we all have different strengths, right?
Yes.
So there's no one master. It's because we all help and promote one another.
I really like that you explain to people that are listening and the viewers, because for the longest time I thought they were the same.
Ah, okay.
And I did not understand that there was a difference between the two of them. I thought it was just different sections of the class that were being taught. So and this is where we need to educate. We need to start educating the minds and researching, because for the longest time, I'm almost going in my 50s. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. I'm a few years short of 50, but I mean, for this length of time, I always thought they were together and that they were one class with different sections, right?
Yeah.
So this is really important. And for the listeners and the viewers out there, if we don't understand something and we don't know about it, ask the questions.
That's it. Be bold enough to ask.
Exactly. If we don't ask, we don't know. And if we don't try, then we don't know either.
Yeah. And even if you think you know, ask.
Exactly, right? We don't know everything. I tell everyone, okay, I might know a little bit, but there's still room to know a little bit more. There's always room to know more, right? Yeah. And when we close the mind, then we become cold and we become closed-minded, right? And we don't actually grow and heal in that.
Right.
So you have come on a long journey, Dr. Katie. You have made a difference to a lot of people. And we have been connected through the red lines of connection and mutual friends, and that we've never even met in person. Do you believe in the red thread, the invisible thread?
Oh, absolutely.
And how that works?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what's happening recently, Miss Liz. is that I worked at the college for 16 and a half years and retired last July. Almost daily, I end up meeting another intuitive, another somebody who has the ability to understand on a deeper level, I guess is the best way to say that. And so I've been collecting intuitives, and I'm sure it's through the red thread.
So for the viewers out there and the listeners that are out there, could you explain a little bit more about the red thread? Because I know you understand it.
Well, I understand it, but I don't know if I can describe it as well as you can. So I'll pass it back to you.
For the viewers and listeners out there, the red thread is we meet certain people for a reason. We might not understand. We might meet them in a grocery store, and then 5 years later, we might be at their wedding, their funeral. We could be at dating them. We never know what the future lies, but there's a reason why we meet those people and why we speak to those people at a certain time. Just like I'm sitting here with Dr. Katie Nall and having tea with her at this time. So we don't know where we'll be next year at this time. We might be sitting together having a cup of tea, we might be on a stage together. We don't know where we will be, but really look at the lines, and check out the YouTube video of the red line on how we're connected. They did an experiment where they said anybody who has tattoos, they all went into one box. Then everybody that has mental health go into another box. And then they broke it down and they said, now, have you seen this person before? And a lot of them said no. And then they had said, 5 years ago, you see me in a grocery store, you helped me pack my bag. Oh, I remember you. So it was the story of the red line. So I really encourage each and every one of you out there to stay connected, get engaged, and reach out like I did with Dr. Katie Nall. And you just never know what door you might open, right? And that. So you've taught me a lot today. I really understand the tapping now. I didn't know that there was different types of tapping. Meditation, you also taught me a lot about, because I didn't know that prayer was part of meditation. These are the things that I need to get more educated on and more research. So I do meditate a lot because I pray a lot and I talk a lot. So it's nice to know all of these things from you. So
You're doing all the right things. You're doing all the right things, Miss Liz.
Any final messages that you'd like to give to everyone that's listening out there?
Oh, thank you. Miss Liz, a lot of people are hurting right now. A lot of people have had health issues, have had relatives with health issues. A lot of people have had employment issues, whether they've lost a job or they're still in a job that may be demanding. And so what I want to do is reassure your listeners that this too shall pass. When you think about the cavemen and cave women, and they would come out of the cave, and from time to time it would be bright, and other times it would be dark. And they didn't understand night and day. And then sometimes they would walk out and it would be cold, and other times they'd walk out and it would be hot, and they didn't understand seasons. And once we understood the cycles of the sun, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the seasons, we were like, oh, now we understand. What we're in right now is something called the fourth turning. Every 80 to 100 years this happens. So I just want to reassure you that we won't always be this way, that things will be different, and that each individual has a chance to make a positive difference. So just make that choice. And if you're too overwhelmed to make that choice, then tap so that you're no longer overwhelmed, so that you can be part of the solution, so that for everyone, this too shall pass.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Katie Nall. Thank you for joining me today in the studio and having tea with me and sharing what waffles are. We really need to open the minds. We really need to do the research and start asking questions, start getting connected. And it is, like you said, it is not going to be like this forever. There's a new change coming, and I feel it coming. So we all need to just relax.
Yes.
So I want to thank you again. I want to thank the viewers that are watching, the listeners that are watching, and viewers and listeners that will watch the replay, please put in hashtag replay and where you're listening from so I know where you are listening from so I can reach out to you. If you'd like to be a guest on Tea Time, please reach out to me at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. And I want to thank you again, Dr. Katie Nall, for joining me today and having tea. It was a pleasure. And we will talk afterwards for more tapping and releasing. And I will get that math done because I feel that I can do this.
Yeah.
So join me all again February 4th when I bring a guest on, Lisa Skimmers, who will be sharing about Alzheimer's and dementia. We need to bring awareness to the illnesses that are not being spoken about, the illnesses that are being put in the darkness because of the shame, because of not understanding and misunderstanding. It is important that we all educate ourselves. And this is what this platform is for, is to educate you, to educate myself as well through my guests as they come. I'm learning just as you are. So again, Lisa Skimmers is joining me February 4th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After that, I will have Jim Curtis, who will be joining me on February 9th for foreign languages. So we will be speaking on the importance of foreign languages and why they're not being taught in the educational systems as well. Then we have Alana Davis coming in, and she will be speaking on autism. So we will be bringing awareness to the autism spectrum and speaking on the adults and children who live with autism. Then we will have, I'm trying to remember everyone, on the 22nd of February, we have education. We have Elizabeth Baltar coming in, and she'll be sharing the dimensions of education. And then on the last day of February, the 28th of February, we have Tina Formal coming in with the child welfare industry. So we have different topics, hard topics that might trigger some of you. So if you feel that any of these topics will trigger you, please do not tune in. I will not feel offended. I want you to be safe and I want you to be secure. But do tune into the shows that will make a difference for you. My platform is here to help, not to discourage. So again, thank you, Dr. Katie Nall, for joining me. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners out there. And we will make a difference one cup of tea at a time through education. We are teaching educational awareness on this platform. So thank you all for joining me today.
Thank you, Miss Liz.